Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to the Liberty Lighthouse podcast. I am your host, Trevor Fye.
And I'm Patrick Field.
Alright, so kind of just getting right into it, we have an interesting story from the, I guess, not so great state of Maine.
I mean, it's really cold. I feel like I haven't stated enough how cold Maine is. But they have good lobster, I've heard.
Yeah, good lobster. Blueberries, too. Blueberries.
Yes. You guys see, Trevor here is an expert on Maine because back in 3rd grade, he did a project on Maine for school. So if we have any native Maine facts, we will throw that over to Trevor. So, Mark Eves, who is a Democrat candidate in Maine's gubernatorial race, said that he finds the state's whiteness to be bad news. He said that it's a problem that Maine is the least diverse state in the United States, where 4chan would just call him based. So he suggested that the government works to adopt a more welcoming spirit and encourage young people to move there. Trevor, what is the national bird? I mean, the bird of Maine.
I could not tell you that. That has nothing to do with what we are talking about.
Well, you're the native Maine expert because
okay,
you're
it was
3rd
grade, bro. But anyway, talking about what's the dude's name?
Mark Eves.
Mr. Eves. I am a little confused on what you mean to do if you win as governor. I mean, are you going to pull a Donald Trump and build a wall and send white people over it? Are you going to fund a bunch of I don't know. I don't know. This is this is the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
No, you see these are white folk. They're not going to build a wall and throw white people over. They're liberals. They're just going to passively aggressively ignore the white people until they just leave the state.
I don't get it. I mean, it's, and don't get me wrong, Maine has some great people. Eric Brakey's running for Senate up there. Hopefully it's on the come up. Like we said, great blueberries and crab, but that's kind of about it. So there's not even a whole lot attracting people to move to the state. Just to begin with, and now you want to press some weird, we need non-white people to move there.
Wait, bro! I just found the best way to get young people to move there. Free college and legalize weed.
Huh.
There
you know
go.
What?
It'll work.
Yeah, you will attract every single Bernie Sanders supporter to the state of Maine within 3 months. That state will secede from the Union, and it'll be named the
New Scandinavia.
The Constitutional Republic of Sanders.
Oh no, dude! It's unconstitutional. They can't.
Right.
No, that's just too
Gulag. The Gulag.
Oh, bonus! Tim Rich, who is a congressional candidate at the event, he also said that that Donald Trump's politics are totally radical, and that he would vow to censor Trump if he were to win the race.
Wow. So
censoring the president. How's that one's gonna work?
Man, not only are you going after U.S. citizen, you're going after the most powerful U.S. citizen.
What is he gonna do? Pay CNN to bleep his speeches?
Yeah, what? Every time he tries talking, get on some megaphone and just say
no,
no. Yeah, wow.
Antifa.
Yeah, they actually just got declared a terrorist organization, I heard.
Well,
progress. Yeah, I knew New Jersey did it a couple months ago, but I heard that, now, they are considered a federal thing. You got Nancy Pelosi calling them out. It's great.
It's Nancy Pelosi.
Minority
is she, a relevant
leader.
Human being still?
She is the minority house leader, so that has to count for something, right?
Hey, minority house leader, she could go to Maine!
She could go to Maine, yes! Yes! Man, we got this entire thing figured out.
Bro, we just need to contact Mark Eves' campaign. Bro, we got this figured out for you.
Yeah, you're gonna get the minority house leader, and you're gonna send them up.
She's a minority leader, therefore she can get the minorities and lead them to Maine. to fix your state's white problem.
Wow.
Like, bruh.
Dude, we should, like, legit, like, call his office with our idea.
We're not calling Mark Eve's campaign office to tell him, get Nancy Pelosi, because she's the minority leader, to lead the minorities to Maine.
Wow. That's just great. You want to move on? We good?
I mean, I guess we can move on.
I mean, well, I don't know how much longer we want to drown out about some weird progressive dude from Maine. No, okay, I do have a quick question. Is this dude white?
Yeah, this dude's white. It's just white guilt.
Yes! Even better. Alright, now to something totally depressing. Sorry, guys. No more laughing.
Pretty much for the rest of the podcast at this point.
A video was released Thursday of a police officer forcibly arresting a female nurse for what he called obstructing justice. Now, in reality, this chick was just listening to the hospital's policy and the Fourth Amendment. The incident took place July 26th. That's one question I always have. Why are videos like delayed like a month on stuff like that? It's ridiculous. But okay, anyway, Salt Lake City police were helping another police department with an investigation of a driver who crashed into another vehicle while he was fleeing the police. The driver fleeing the police was killed, and then the other driver was flown to Utah Hospital. Officer Payne wrote that he was seeking to draw blood from the patient to check if he had any chemical substances in his system at the time of the crash, though it is unclear why he wanted it. The person who Officer Payne requested a blood sample from also was not under arrest. Supreme Court did rule that police do not have the right to draw blood in a drunken driving investigation without a warrant. Now, the nurse was released after 20 minutes and faced no charges. Now, just to read the Fourth Amendment in case you're not familiar with it, I mean, if you're following the Libertarian podcast, you should know it, but I'll just please the people. The right of the people to be secured in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by the oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. The officer is currently facing charges and has been placed on administrative leave. Patrick, is this a big deal, or is it an isolated incident?
I mean, I feel like you would need to hear more cases of this happening for me to be considering it a big deal. So you said she ended up being released from it, right?
Yeah. She's in no trouble whatsoever.
Then I would say it's an isolated incident. He was placed on leave afterwards. So I would definitely feel like it was one of those cases of police officers just overstepping their bounds and not quite realizing that what they were doing is in fact wrong.
I don't know. I personally see this as a great opportunity for the legal precedent to be sent that the Fourth Amendment is not to be messed with. I mean, I know, and that's a big thing now, because there's another thing that I think in this upcoming term for the legislative process in D.C., they're going to be looking at the the surveillance programs, and I want to say somewhere Rand Paul announced he would filibuster some stuff if it didn't go the way he wanted it to. But anyways, I think this is a pretty important case because this has to deal with the Fourth Amendment, and I think more legal protection is needed, and this could potentially add more legal precedent for it to be protected.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of a legal precedent being set here. It's definitely not a non-issue. It is an issue, but I just feel like with the fact that we've only heard about this once, I feel like this is definitely more of an isolated issue. At least I hope so. I mean, like I said, this is the first time we've heard of it. Definitely does not mean that this is the first time this has not happened. So I'm I'm definitely going to I want to see if this happens more often, and but they're definitely, the Fourth Amendment is definitely, as you said with tech, it is just so important. I mean, obviously you remember the whole San Bernardino's iPhone incident.
Yeah, and Rand Paul, like, he filibustered on this for like 13 hours.
And John McAfee said that he would open the phone in that one case so that the legal precedent could not be set, so that they would not need to go to the Supreme Court with it.
Right, yeah.
A lot of Liberty Warriors saw that as a good. And if this ends up being, I would love to find out if this is more of an issue.
Yeah, I'm hoping that
it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, but we kind of just need to get back to the basics and actually listen to the Constitution and quit messing around with all this. Hey, let's go
listen to the Constitution.
Yeah, let's go arrest some nurse for like doing her job and doing everything legally and going after a blood sample from someone who didn't do anything illegal. That was just stupid to me. Gosh. I think next we're going to get on to the super depressing topic of Hurricane Harvey that devastated the fourth largest city in the United States, Houston.
Whew. It also did affect a lot of surrounding areas of like Vermont and such. So, first thing I would say that we're going to be talking about, especially as libertarians that hate the idea of congressional funding. Trump, well, not really Trump, but the White House is asking Congress for $14.5 billion in relief funding. And then another thing that is so, like, while we're on economics, is this storm is incredibly expensive. It is the most economically damaging natural disaster in modern history.
It surpassed Katrina?
Is second now.
Damn.
Katrina cost an estimated $160 billion. And right now, Hurricane Harvey has cost the United States, is at least in the estimated range of $190 billion. So we're at $30 billion more. A huge reason is that where they hit. It's not just because the storm was in some ways bigger. It's kind of debated on which storm is bigger because of the fact that the tropical storm of Harvey is larger, but the actual hurricane is not. But because of the effect in oil production, a majority of oil is in the United States is mined along the Gulf of Mexico. Mm-hmm. And Hurricane Harvey slammed those oil rigs. They've destroyed oil rigs, and in fact 10% of the oil rigs along the Gulf have already been evacuated as of 1 day ago.
Wow.
And with more expecting, which has caused, if you've, real world application here, if you've noticed, the gas price has gone up. It is definitely getting more expensive. And then another thing is the sheer amount of rain. Harvey set the record for tropical cyclone rainfall measured in any one place over the past 50 years. It is right now at 52 inches of rain in places. To measure that, Hurricane Katrina was at, I believe, 40-something inches. So, again, Hurricane Harvey seems to be shorter than Katrina. And we were obviously, because of Katrina, not well prepared, but slightly better than Hurricane Katrina when it came to preparation for this.
Well, and it didn't help because the mayor of Houston went against the governor of Texas and said you don't have to evacuate. So that I mean, I'm not sure how much that changes everything on an economic basis, but you can't tell me that didn't affect how many lives we could have potentially lost.
Well, actually, Hurricane Katrina had a death toll in the thousands. It was like, I think, 1,800 people. Hurricane Harvey has 38 deaths. I think whether or not they should have evacuated is going to be a question that we're going to be wondering for a while, because of the fact that, as the mayor of Houston said, was that when you have a city as large as Houston trying to get everybody out on the roadways, that could kill people. It could kill people to try and evacuate a city of millions of people at once. So whether or not we should have evacuated, I don't think that that's as black and white as some people are making it seem like. There is definitely some question as to whether or not that was. Sheltering in placing showed to be extremely effective. And because of the fact that we're on such a depressing topic, I thought I would mention something a little bit lighter. And that is good news. It is that the owner of a mattress store down in Houston
I've heard this
opened
story.
his doors to allow people to come and stay there. And it was so nice. It was so nice.
Yeah, it's... I mean, you've seen so many stories of, like, people, like, going down. I mean, Austin Peterson had 2 guys go down in just, like, a pickup truck and a trailer, and even that just brought so much happiness to, I mean, even a few people. I mean, this is a place where you're struggling to find clean water.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of clean water, Budweiser shut down all their plants down south to actually bottle water and worked with the Blue Cross to send in cans of water for them to distribute to people.
All they changed was the label. I'm just kidding. I've never had alcohol, but so I've heard. All they did was change the label.
So, with that joke, we are going to play a clip for you. Now, this clip is emotional, and it is explicit if you do not like foul language. So we're going to wait 3 seconds for you to pause, skip, whatever it may be. And here we go.
People there, and I see you're standing with some folks there right now, including a little girl who I guess has to deal with all of this as well. What can you tell us?
Let me introduce you to Danielle here. Danielle, you just arrived. Share with us how you were rescued.
Some guys had called our phone and asked us where we were. We was waiting for the police for like 36 hours and they never came. And we was waiting at the home. We did the white flags and everything and nobody came. But then somebody had called the phone after we decided to leave the house and we had walked to the gas station with the kids. And then they had called and came and picked us up. But we had been there like 5 days with no food and no lights and nobody came. Like nobody came.
Now you're with your children. We've heard of stories of mothers trying to save their children from the rushing waters. Can you tell us how that was?
Through 4 feet of water to go get them food on the first day. Yeah, that's a lot of shit. But y'all sitting here, y'all trying to interview people during their worst times. Like, that's not the smartest thing to do. Like, people are really breaking down, and y'all sitting here with cameras and microphones trying to ask us what the fuck is wrong with us.
So I'm so
and
sorry.
you really trying to understand it with the microphone still in my face, with me shivering cold, with my kids wet, and you still putting the microphone in my face.
Sorry.
Rosa Flores, it sounds like you've got a very upset family there. We're going to take a break from that, and we'll get back to you later on. Rosa Flores in Houston.
All right, we are back. I hope you don't want to turn us off now and just cry yourself to sleep. So, is there anything left to say on the Hurricane Harvey story, Trevor?
Other than to donate and send as much as you can down there, definitely. We'll try to throw in a link to
Some
donate
charities,
to like Red Cross or whoever you choose.
One thing is that wherever you are, there are Red Cross donations going on. They need blood. There are a lot of people who are damaged, and the Red Cross is having massive blood shortages. So if you can, obviously not everybody can, but if you can, I encourage you to donate money or blood. So with that being on, I know Trevor's got like a happy story about his decision, Trump's decision on Dreamers.
Yeah, the president will announce his decision on the famous Dreamers from an Obama-era policy that allowed young people who came here illegally as children to remain in the United States. Trump, campaigned on an extremely nationalist and closed borders policy, did say during his announcement that we love Dreamers, we love everybody, the Dreamers are terrific. there are roughly 787,000 people who are potentially at risk for being deported if Trump chooses to do so. The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, is a program where there is an acknowledgement from the government that Dreamers won't be deported, and they were authorized to seek work permits and attend college. Democrats have come out in strong support for DACA, including Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey. Booker said in a tweet, "But DACA alone is not enough. Congress must act to fix our broken immigration system. We must act to protect our Dreamers and their parents." Booker was a big supporter of President Obama, who actually deported the most people as a president in American history.
Okay. Okay. About this being the whole deported the most people, you've got to remember that the government of the federal government is a big, broken system. And that trying to say he's deported the most, he hasn't. His agencies have, who have a lot of decision makers. It's not like Obama's like part of fucking ICE and going and doing raids himself. No. And he didn't even... There is a lot more that goes to it. I wouldn't say, who's deported the most people as, it's the ICE agents, okay?
No, he did it. It was under Obama's watch.
He freaking... Okay, it was under his watch. But how much...
It might as well have been Obama kicking down some door in Southside Chicago, taking a family and ripping it apart. Okay. It was under his administration.
But his administration was not the only one who set immigration policy. There's so much of Congress. You have to check, well, who was the Congress at the time? What laws led to this? How did he support those laws? There is a lot.
It doesn't matter. He signed them, didn't he? He as a president, you have power, or at least, I'm not sure you should have power, but he had power to determine what happened. If he didn't want to send people back, he didn't have to send people back, and he did.
But, okay, it's not like he's commanding even when the ICE raids happen. He doesn't know half the time what's going on. Because he's only one person, even if he is the president.
Well, that's not good. Okay, if you don't know everything that's going on, I know you're one person, but you're the president of the United States. You have to know what's going on everywhere.
A lot of these, but a lot of people who are deported, there is a certain amount. There's a lot of states that make this decision. There is a lot of, ICE has to follow a certain amount by what states say, and I just. There's just a lot more that goes into it than just saying...
It happened under Obama's watch.
How do you know that the laws weren't signed by HW or something?
It doesn't matter. He's President Obama.
He can't repeal laws.
No, but he can direct ICE to not do raids. He can direct them to not do this.
What about Border Patrol?
Yeah.
Border Patrol can deport within certain miles of the border, because in fact there's a lot of immigrants along the bottom of the South and Southwest. There's a certain amount of Border Patrol that has this too, and those aren't really... Is Border Patrol controlled by the president directly?
Is it a federal program?
I think in part, at least.
Yeah, okay, so President Obama has a say. He can direct what happens. Now, I disagree with you trying to put this off on 435 members of Congress and 100 senators. That President Obama he was responsible for sending how many thousands of people home. Now, to just try to give him a pass is ridiculous.
I'm not just giving him a pass, but acting like this is entirely...
And he didn't campaign big on immigration either. That was not...
DACA, that was his thing. DACA was his baby.
Well, yeah, but he still had no problem deporting thousands of people. I just think that Obama didn't really care about immigrants.
Obama didn't care about immigrants. What about his action in Cuba?
Yeah, that fell through 6 months later.
I thought that was under I feel like it was going good, and then Trump came in. Trump wasn't as much
it was going good, but that was still just letting people pass back and forth to the country. He tried. But still, you're missing the big picture. He sent thousands of people back.
Fine, you gotta be a little bit of a... Yeah, fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
We're just gonna get salty about this. I'm getting salty.
But personally, I think that we should allow the Dreamers to stay. They've grown up in this country.
I don't know. I'm very conflicted on DACA. I'm not gonna lie. I can't make, because like on one hand, yeah, they grew up in this country. I mean, so how much does DACA? So does DACA? Does that provide a path to citizenship, or is it just to stay in the country?
I don't believe it provides a path to citizenship. I just think it doesn't deport you.
Which then you could then go and.
Yeah, and then you could try to apply for citizenship. It's I don't want to call it amnesty, but it's kind of amnesty. To put it in like simple terms.
All right. So are we done talking about DACA?
We are done with DACA.
So, Trevor, if you remember, I texted you. And I said, hey, Trevor, I'm going to do a story that's going to make you so salty. You going to get, like, salt shaker level salty.
Yeah, I do remember. I had to do with, like, the thing that I don't think anyone should touch, and that's veterans.
Okay. So this is a Liberty Lighthouse special episode. Well, not like a special episode, actually, just like a special report. But, so, I work in an undisclosed location for an undisclosed company, and I talk to an undisclosed person who is a disabled veteran. Said veteran, and the reason I'm talking about this, by the way, is it's not a news story, but, as you know, we are coming up to the deadline of the budget bill. And if there is not budget passed, which, if there's, most state governments are Republican, Congress is Republican, the White House is Republican. If they can't pass a freaking budget at this point, I'm just gonna be like, throwing my hands up in the air like, I ain't doing this. But, either way, so basically, I was working and I was talking with someone, and they were talking about how they were a veteran. They fought in Korea. They were disabled. They had one of their legs missing, and they ended up having a really messed up spine, so it was really hard for them to get around anywhere. So they, because of the fact, they didn't lose this later on. They lost this in the war. They told me a story, actually, about how they ended up being tackled, actually, like physically tackled by another soldier from a bomb. And basically what happened is that because of that, she ended up, and it was a she, actually, she fought in the Korean War, or I don't think she actually fought, I think she was a medic unit, but basically she ended up hitting her back on a ledge, and that's how she disabled her back, but then it wasn't helped that because the bomb actually still ended up going off, pretty much her entire leg got burned to the point where it was no longer usable, and they had to amputate it. But she's disabled. Obviously, it's very difficult for her to work.
Right.
And so she gets disability pay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how the government shut down back in, I think it was 2014, for about 2 days?
Yeah.
That ended up falling on when she was getting her veterans benefits. And she didn't get it that month. And she never even got back paid for it. She literally just missed a month. And obviously, being that the federal government may shut down again, she was talking about how even though the federal government, when it shuts down, quote unquote, they managed to still send paychecks to senators and representatives, but our veterans who literally almost died for this country, they do not get veterans benefits.
That's absolutely disgusting. I consider myself a fiscal conservative in every single area except veterans benefits. And the fact that we can give Congress, who's been off for like 2 months, we can pay that. Oh my gosh, wow. You did say this was going to get me upset.
I knew Trevor get triggered.
That's totally, that's unacceptable. And what should happen is there needs to be, again, this is why I advocate for private charity, because we need people to step in and take care of people like this.
She did end up saying that she did end up getting taken care of because the local, I think it was the Mason Lodge, they found out about it because, quite a bit of Masons are formerly veterans. They ended up finding out all the local veterans in the areas, and they actually pulled out of their funds to pay for their veteran benefits that month. Good.
Wow. See, this is the reason why of course, I fully advocate. If you fight for this country, you deserve every dime of what you're promised. But there needs to be some sort of backup, because clearly we can't listen to the idiots in D.C. Because I mean that is totally unacceptable for someone who, from what it sounds like, is very messed up to not receive their benefits for a month. I mean, that's a month of like rent, food, medical care.
She ended up actually she has pain medication, because if she doesn't take pain medication, then her back literally starts arching and she can't even like move her arms, and she nearly goes paralyzed, and she was not able to pay for the medicine for quite a few days for that. And she said that it got to the point where she ended up falling over, and she was trying to make short like gasps for help while she was paralyzed, and her maid ended up coming, and she was laying on the floor for 5 hours.
Wow. Yeah, that... I have absolutely no respect for the people in Washington who are willing to say these people don't deserve what they got. I mean...
Like, because we can't do our job effectively, we're going to allow people who did everything they could for our country to just go without help. But, you know, we'll do things like, I think certain amount of Social Security went out. It just, yeah, it was very, very upsetting for me to hear that. And I had to try and be as professional as possible in a workplace. But what I wanted to do at that moment was just like, just go to Washington and just like punch every senator and representative we have.
Yeah, pass a budget, Washington. I mean, come on. I mean, I get it. Maybe you want to hash some stuff out, maybe cut the budget or whatever. But the Republicans who are currently in there, except for like maybe 12 total, suck.
And it's you can pass emergency resolutions. They do that. They do that when they can't pass a budget. But you can't pass an emergency resolution for like, hey, you know what? The people who fought for this country to the point where they are literally physically handicapped, no. Those aren't priority number one.
Yeah, we don't do nearly enough for our veterans. And, you know, I'll get a lot of crap from libertarians for this because, you know what, I'm not a fiscal conservative when it comes to this. If I actually go full-on Karl Marx when it comes to veterans.
It's not even welfare. This is not something you get for not doing anything. This should be considered benefits package. You get workers' comp if you end up being disabled from a job. And you know what? It's illegal for a company to shut down and not have a way to pay for their people who are injured on the job. You can sue for that, but somehow, oh no, you fight for this country in the Korean War, but like, most of those people were drafted. They didn't even want to be there in the first place. But if they get injured, no, bro, that's just not priority. And you know what? I saw what her veterans benefits were, and that made me mad. She got $1,600 for a month.
Yeah, we disrespect our vets so much. And I mean, you said Korean War, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally just awful. And not to get super political on the situation, but that is the first war we did not have congressional approval for. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We're getting triggered. Yeah. We're getting triggered, guys.
Yeah.
We're getting salty.
Yeah. Hey, congratulations, Congress. You found a way to piss off conservatives. Yeah. Continuing with the trend of Republicans pissing me off, Congress returns to work next week, and we are going to start to see votes again.
Unfortunately.
The House of Representatives will consider an appropriations bill, H.R. 3354, which will authorize spending for the Department of Justice for the upcoming fiscal year. Some Democrats and Republicans have submitted an amendment to defund the directive issued by Attorney General Jeff Sessions to ramp up the use of civil asset forfeiture. Sessions is a huge supporter of civil asset forfeiture, which is, of course, a violation of the Fourth Amendment. 14 states currently require a criminal conviction in most or all instances. Republican Justin Amash has submitted separate amendments that would prohibit the Department of Justice from using funds for adoptive seizures. Now, as libertarians, this really, really pisses both of us off.
So, I think for our viewers that don't know, can you explain what exactly is civil asset forfeiture?
Sure. It's pretty much, let's say a person gets arrested, they seize the property that's like with them, or, you know, they seize property, and then they pretty much don't give it back unless you want to pay a fine or some sort of deal to get it back, or they'll just keep it, regardless of a conviction, unless you're in 14 states.
So basically, someone gets arrested for whatever, and then they just lose their house.
Well, that happened. There was this one case where like someone was part of an investigation. They like took his property, and then it turned out he was totally innocent, and there was like a lot of false crap that happened, and he didn't get his property back. Yeah, it's actual theft. Like we like saying taxation is theft and everything. Civil asset forfeiture is actual theft.
So is this only in cases of property, or is this like for other stuff also?
What do you mean?
Like, for example, let's say someone ended up, they were Walter White, and they were, you know, making meth or whatever. They found his millions or whatever buried out in the desert. That money that they could seize, is that considered civil asset forfeiture? Or
I believe so.
So, I'm definitely saltastic about it being, especially if they're innocent. But what is the defense for if they... So, let's say they are guilty. Do you think also that they should be able to keep their property? Like, or is it, like, depend on the crime? Like, how do you feel about this?
Personally, I don't think the government should be taking any property. I think that it should just be returned to the estate, and then whatever happens from there happens. To steal someone's property is disgusting. Now, it's one thing if you're using it for evidence, but after it's done being evidence, it needs to be returned, if possible.
Where do the funds go for this case? Like, does it just go into the government coffers?
Yeah, pretty much. And then after a certain number of years, I think the government can do whatever they want with it. Like, I heard this one story, like, this dude got arrested, his car was impounded and whatever, and, like, the police, like, used that dude's car to do stuff.
What, did they make it like a police cruiser or something?
Yeah, like, undercover work, I think.
What?
Yeah.
The hell?
Yeah, this is actual theft that our current Attorney General is like, yeah, let's do this, I'm from Alabama, I'm gonna, like, totally piss everybody off. This is a good idea.
General Jeff Sessions makes me so salty. Not just because he's like so ridiculous. Okay, this is total tangent, but he is so ridiculously against marijuana to the point where you gotta think, like, you know, you're being ridiculous, right? Like,
yeah, like he's probably one of those guys like, I'll listen to facts, not feelings, and then like you like say, what about like hemp? No, that marijuana's the devil's lettuce. Yeah, only bad people use marijuana, but I'm more than okay with the government stealing from you.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, so that's pretty much going to wrap it up. If you like this video, please share and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook, The Liberty Lighthouse. Follow us on Twitter at The Liberty LH.
And drop a comment or something. Like, if you have something you want us to discuss. If you have a question for us that you want us to discuss, I'd be more than happy to. If you want to know, Trevor, who are you in love with? Leave a comment, and we'll definitely go over that in the next episode.
Yeah, don't ask that question, please. All right.
Because he knows he's going to have to answer it.
I don't answer to anything. I plead the fifth.
I plead the fifth. All right. Well, let's kick it to the outro music.